Morning, everybody. Welcome to Tomcat Zone for another video of our Indian Ocean War here in the Fifth Fleet. You want to talk about learning curves? I just spent the last half hour making a video only to find out that all I captured was audio, so that was great. So I'm doing this all over again. So hey, got a free trial. Hopefully got my thoughts all in order, and I won't have all these moments where I'm trying to grab some kind of thought out of my brain here and pausing. Anyway, we're starting game day 2 and game turn 4, which but starts as the morning cycle of the new day. And there's a couple things we need to explain first and start off with setup first. And before I do that, I wanted to look at what we got here. First of all, I've come up with a new idea because I literally have 75 of these game save files total of this battle that we fought, and I have a feeling that I don't think we're going to maintain interest that long for someone to watch 75 videos on this battle. So my idea here is to crunch time, consolidate, try and still keep these things to between 15 and 30 minutes long, but consolidate them. So my goal is to make sure every video is a full game turn, all 6 action segments, all data that I can put into it, all analysis that I can offer, and the fun that came from it. And then so obviously every 3 videos will represent a game day. And at least through the next 3 game days, I'm going to do that. As we get further into the battle, you'll see that assets, are either our objectives are achieved and those assets make it to where they're supposed to go, or assets are destroyed and sunk, or blown out of the air, and so less actions can be taken. So some of these things get as the game progresses, things get shorter in need and time needed to be spent talking about it because less happened. Anyway, so at least over the next 3 days, this is my goal, to do a game turn in each video, all 6 segments. So that being said, let's talk about first, this is the first new day that we've gone through. I'll get to that in a minute. Just looking here, Soviet kills to the US kills, the Allied kills. It's troubling to understand what's going on in the game. For victory, understand that each unit is worth a value. Aircraft are worth, at least combat aircraft are worth their value based on the scenario. Non-combat or auxiliary aircraft, reconnaissance, electronic warfare, they're important to the side that has them, but they're no victory points. And so you can kill as many as you want. It doesn't help your goal to win, save to reduce your opponent's ability to counter anything you're doing. So anyway, ships being killed are worth their defense value. So this, the Adelaide has got a 3 here in the upper left corner. That is her defense value. So that's how many victory points that ship is worth. As they are destroyed, those points stack up. How victory is determined in this game is the Allies' total victory points are added up. The Soviet total victory points are added up. You subtract the Allied from the Soviets, you get a positive or negative number. Whatever number that is on a scale. That is in the scenario's highlights there. And that scale, then your score on that scale determines victory. Right now we're at a marginal victory for the Soviets. They're winning because sheer number of kills, not only in my units, but air bases are being destroyed. Air bases destroyed are worth 10 points to him. My strategy has been to move as quietly and stealthily across this map as I possibly can to make sure my ships get to their objective hexes without being destroyed or found and thus targeted. And because then I've not put a lot of my offensive power to work here, and so my kills are a lot less. And needless to say, the trade-off of watching your units dying across the map and not doing the same, it can be very defeatist. And I was, even by game turn 4, I'm getting frustrated with my own, strategy here. Anyway, so we'll get into more of that as this game turn goes through. Let's look at the sequence of play and what happens. Terminal cycle. That's what just ended in game turn 3. The PM, or the nighttime turn. At the end of that night turn after you do all the action segments that go through it, you have to do these functions here, which is fuel phase, which is logistics. We're not using that. Repair phase. That's very important. Any base that's been damaged every base that has been damaged on the map is allowed 1 step of repairs. Meaning, if it suffered 3 damage at some point in the last 2 cycle or game turns, AM, afternoon, or 3 game turns, I should say, because even in the PM turn, if it took 3 damage in those 3 turns, at the end of that 3rd turn, you get a repair phase, which allows you to step that down to 2 damage. It's a way for bases to repair themselves and become functional again. And but until those bases are functional, even if a base still has only 1 error or 1 damage on it, those aircraft still can't launch, and that's important. Obviously, if you hit a base and do 2 points of damage to it, even with the repair phase done at the end of that cycle, you have another 3 turns before he can launch an aircraft off of that base. And so it's key to hit them, to slow them down, but if you can kill it too, well, even better. The last thing that happens is a strategic air mission termination. So all those aircraft that I launched in the first game day, I should say, strategic air mission, I put all those aircraft up, fighter sweeps, reconnaissance, everything that I could to just find him and also blow away anything that he put up. Well, all those aircraft are now returning to base. We see with that return how Pakistan, most of my aircraft kills right now are Pakistani, because and Banda Asi's F5s, because those aircraft had no place to land. They came back, their airbase was destroyed. It is what it is. So needless to say, I had all those aircraft up on strategic air missions. The strategic air mission cycle ends, and I have to return aircraft to their bases. Those bases are destroyed. They immediately go to the kill pile. Doesn't help my goals here. So that was a depressing thing. So then we start the new AM cycle, and those AM cycle events are simple. You do random events here. You do weather. Those are 2 key things here. They have weather second in the structure of the game. We always do it first for one simple reason, because we added into our optional rules of random events satellites. This is a carryover from 6th Fleet. I happen to like satellite options. I think it's logical. RORSAT is key to the U.S. Navy's defense and strategic planning. So why it's not represented in 5th Fleet, but they had it in 6th Fleet, I don't know, but it's a good carryover. It's suggested in the Complete Fleet, which is a PDF that you can find anywhere on any of the Victory Games groups and clubs. But it's a good idea. And this table comes from that. It's just a random roll for each side. Both of them roll the dice, the D10, compare it to the chart, and if you get a success, 1 or 2 or 3, you can place a strategic marker for your on surface vessels. You can place surface vessels or stacks, task groups, task forces. You can place a strategic marker, and those strategic markers last for the whole game day, not just game turn like local detection markers can come and go. So that's a good thing. Now, if you want, you can try and hunt the subs too, but there's an additional role there for trying to place a strategic marker on a sub. So generally, RORSAT is is better for the vessels purposes, finding the surface groups, and it's key. Why do we put satellites or weather first? Because we also play at that. It's in the rules here. A unit in squall, storm, or dark, or a submarine in deep mode cannot be detected. So if the weather comes up where it's a squall or a storm, well, you're not detecting there. in the game sequence there. So weather first, then we do the random events, and then submarine mode and strategic air for that. So what happens in game day 2 AM cycle here? We rolled for weather, and we go then to these charts, the weather chart here. You roll a die. We rolled a 0 to 6, obviously, because on the notes we had clear skies in the second game day, clear skies. Rolled for events, random events. We'll go to the table just below it. Again, roll for satellites. I did not get any satellite successes, but Scott got one satellite strategic marker to place. Good on him. Lastly, we roll on the random events table, and we rolled a 5 through 8 because there was a command failure in this game day. You then roll to see which side it affects. It turns out to be the Allies. Then you roll against the zone table to determine what zones are affected by command failure. I'll just let you know what command failure means here in a second. But again, I rolled the dice, and I rolled a 9, obviously, based on my notes here, because I got the whole enchilada here. The whole northern part of the map, which again, reference-wise, is actually the western part of the map. But for ease of reference between the visuals here in the game, north being the top of the screen, the north part of the map, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, Saudi Arabia, Gulf of Aden, Socotra, North Arabian Sea, South Arabian Sea, West Indian Ocean. That is all 8 zones right there of the north part of the map. All of them are shut down with command failure for the Allies. Great. All those aircraft that I just had on strategic missions that just returned and now are available, well, guess what? I got command failure. And what does command failure mean? Command failure means you cannot use any aircraft in a command failure zone for any purpose other than combat air patrol. Also, any combat air patrols that are in a command failure zone cannot work in tandem, meaning if 2 combat air patrols are in close range to an inbound strike, they can't work cohesively to add their scores together to drive that bombing run or those attacks off. So it's debilitating, to say the least. The fact that I lose half, well, the north half of the map is all the land bases for the Allies, except for Diego Garcia in the south. So for the most part, well, I guess in Indonesia too, but for the most part, all of my aircraft are shut down for any other purpose but combat air patrol. There's a rule too that we couldn't find anything definitive on, that we decided that we would play, that if a unit is in a command failure zone, i.e. an aircraft carrier, and that aircraft carrier moves out of the command failure zone, it still stays under the obligation of command failure for its aircraft, because essentially the zone isn't command failure. The units within the zone have a command failure for the day. So you'll see these markers here, command failure, command failure. So this marker is placed in every zone that I am unable to use my aircraft. Again, you can use them for cap, but I cannot use them for any other purpose. And that that just puts me in through 6 turns that all these aircraft in the Persian Gulf are basically useless for the time being. Okay, so that's what happened in our setup. I'm going to go back to the sequence of play real quick. Then we did strategic air allocation. I wasn't able to put anything up on strategic air allocation for the most point because of the fact that everything is shut down for command failure. The active aircraft that I do have in the south, I'm not putting those up on strategic missions this round because I need everything I can potentially use to try and make this an effective game day. So strategic air missions are null and void for me. Scott does put up strategic air missions. Now, one thing is to be pointed out, he still is obligated to the rules that state that the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Aden cannot put units on strategic air missions if I have available interceptors, and I do. Even though they're not going to be on any kind of strategic air mission themselves. They're still available. So he is still tied to that. But bottom line, you will see he has a number of strategic markers. Local marker detection was also determined. As you can see here, all these local detections were made. But he's got a strategic marker on Task Force 8, a strategic marker on Task Force 2, and a strategic marker on Task Force 16. Obviously, his satellites and his reconnaissance aircraft were effective against me. I, on the other hand, have no strategic markers this turn, at least to start the game turn. Okay, so let's get started. I don't have a log file here, so this is going to be quick in this regard here of what we did talk about. He started with aircraft. I then, in action segment 2, I went to surface. So what happens? First of all, on the setup, I already explained the setup. With the morning, his aircraft launch, his bombers leave ruin in their wake. Once more, the Salalah airbase here. Let me show you where we're at. So Salalah is attacked, and it is damaged 1. Aircraft are there, but they're on combat air patrol mission. So that is a bummer. Task Group 7, I'll get to in a minute here. He attacks over this airbase, which is Abu Dhabi. You can see I've got a 1 attack cap, which means my combat air patrol resisted his attack and staved him off. I think we even damaged one of his bombers in that attack. Let's look here. Just scroll over his bombers. There's a Tupolev 22 that was damaged. I think that was hit in that attack on Abu Dhabi. MiG-31 is damaged. I don't know. Could have happened in the day before. But bottom line, the 1 attack cap marker there, what that means is combat air patrols can stave off any inbound attacks as they want, but as they progressively make more and more attacks, they run out of ammunition, they run out of fuel. All those kind of things play into the realism of the game, and that's a cool function. And this modifier marker is placed on the stack on the combat air patrol counter, saying it's made one cap attack. If it makes another, it goes to 2, and that's actually the limit on the marker, but it's the limit on the modifier. But it makes sense. He killed Salalah. His aircraft then launched on my convoy group 7, which was down here in the East Indian Ocean, right here. I say right here, it was here because the counters are gone. He attacked this group, and his bombers blew the 2 frigates that were defending the Buyuk Hun and sunk them, eliminating the fighting force of this small task group. It is now a single ship. It is still localized. Both my frigates are destroyed. The tanker is now easy prey, and his subs, of course, are sitting by, ready to pounce. So that's great. For the Allied forces, and that's pretty much all he achieved with his aircraft. It's enough. When we look at, again, going back, we look at the kills here. The Australian forces, for the most part, are out of the game. The Indonesian forces, for the most part, are out of the game. I lost the Bowen and the Answorth, 2 frigates there that were defending the Buyuk Hun. We lost the Shushuk. We lost the Omani PC, but those happened in the previous turn. Also, have lost the Burmese Endeavor. Now, understand, he doesn't get any victory points for killing my victory point ships, but because he kills them, I don't get the victory points for them. The Burmese Endeavor here, I wanted to show you, if I would achieve my goal, that little 10 over the N here in the lower right corner is how many points it was worth. When it's damaged, that number goes to, I invisibled it. When it's damaged, that number goes to 5. Of course, when it's killed, I get nothing for it. Anyway, so to continue here, I want to kind of go fast because I don't want these videos to be too long. We're already at 19 minutes. I activated surface. My surface vessels continue their stealthy move, no offensive actions. I'm trying to get them to their objectives, and it is trying. It's making me wonder about my strategy as my ships are being sunk, and I have potential targets. Instead, I'm trying to keep out of his way. So, and that's the Ranger needs to get south towards Great Nicobar. These task groups 13 down here, task group 9, task group 10, all these things have to get to their objectives to get these ships to my victory point hexes. And that's cool because I know one thing, he might be sinking my ships, and he might have a marginal victory right now because of his score from his kills. But I know once I get these ships in their locations, my victory points are going to jump dramatically. So that's the goal. All right, got to change maps real quick, so I'm going to pause a sec. All right, so we see with the onset of the new 3 and 4 action segments, we rolled for initiative. The allies get it. I get the initiative on this one. I do have a log file, so I'm going to be able to progress this. I'm going to, again, go rapidly because my goal is to keep these videos short, but get as much of a game, each game turn into them. Okay, so again, I activate subs. And close this. We see that the Casablanca continues its southern journey out of the Gulf of Aden to attack. Well, the goal here is to attack his task forces here. I want to kill those convoy ships he's got moving there. The Haddock comes out of the Gulf of Oman. The Mont Rivers moves into position to kind of be a picket between this Condor, this old diesel boat. I don't really care about the Condor as far as an attacking ship. It's got 9 torpedo. No big deal. But it can find me, and if it locates anything, well then, especially surface ships, that gives us bombers things to attack. The Sea Wolf, I think this is a Sea Wolf. Yeah, the Sea Wolf heads south or towards this group of ships. Sea Wolf has with a 10 ASW, I get the advantage of being able to do a standoff attack, basically ASRock attacks. So with my 10 value, which actually stepped down to 9 because of I am performing a standoff ranged attack, so my 10 goes to 9. I'm going to try to hit the Krylenko here. The Krylenko has a defense value of 8, which means I at least need to get a 4 result to damage him. On the CRT, under the 9 column, 7 to 9, to achieve a 4, I need at least a 7, 8, or 9 success. I got a 30% chance to damage this sub with my sub. There is no defense roll on ASW, so he cannot roll anything to reduce my attack roll. So, as rock attack, I do hit a 7, and the Krylenko takes a hit. Awesome. I'm excited. Onset of the first part of my action segment, I got some blood in the water. Hashmat will run at full speed. Subs can add 1 to their speed in this game, thus moving at full speed, but by so doing, they reveal themselves with a strategic marker. It is a trade-off. You got to be willing to make it. I decide that I want to try and kill the Krylenko. I've got a 4 ASW value here. Again, to hit a sub with 8 defense, I need 4 damage to kill it, which means on a 4 column on the CRT, I need a 9. I got a 10% chance at this. So revealing that sub for 10% was close, but no cigar. I rolled an 8, and so the Krylenko lives longer. Okay, close but no effect. Okay, the Narwhal will move, and she makes an attack. On the 6, I roll a 2, and she misses. She moves off. The Ghazi and the Humat move to position themselves. The Sea Lion down in Sumatra moves at full speed. Again, we place a strategic marker, and I go to attack the Sindavir. Again, a 4 attack value. Oh, I got a 6 attack value. That's cool. On the 6 column, 5 to 6, to achieve a 4, I can, if I get an 8 or 9, I got 20% chance opportunity to hit this boat here, which has a defense factor of 7. Need 4, so I need an 8 or 9. I roll a 7. Close again, but no cigar. The Cochrane moves. The Baton Rouge moves. The Miami went that direction, but then I said, no, I want to go this direction. Up here, the Key West will launch a 12 cruise missile strike against the male atoll, and that is a hit. The marker is placed on the base. Key West moves into position to pick it. Sea Devil moves into position to pick it. The Albany moves now that the whatever that diesel boat was, Guy Morga or whatever it was called that was around Diego, was destroyed last turn. The Shark moves. Did it attack? No. The Shark moves. I believe that is all I had to do with subs. So that ends the subs. Let's bring up the next map here. Let's see. Any analysis here before I do, though? Let's see. One thing is for certain, the Soviet subs are great. I'm learning that they're not an easy kill. It's not an easy kill for my subs to die, obviously. The only thing is, I will say, is the technology aspect of the Allied side is reflected in these 10 ASWs. The Soviets were built to be strong, fast, and go deep, which is good. That's what they were built, and the rules reflect that well. I sometimes wonder, though, if there some of these subs with the 9, like the Balkash here, with a 9 defensive score, if they weren't a little too OP. But then again, the Allies have a lot of strengths in their technology. I don't know. It just, these things that you wonder through as you're playing the game. Still, I will say 5th Fleet is a far cry better from 6th Fleet in the rules they introduced for detection and for attacking. By far, the simulation of this game on me personally, I can see these subs sneaking in, attacking, and sneaking out undetected. The rules are cool. Bottom line, I got a hit. After all those subs moved, I got 1 hit. So maybe that is statistically correct. I don't know. I was depressed. I'll be back with the new map. Okay, this is action segments 4 and 5. Again, no log file, so this is going to be a quick analysis of what occurred, but without being able to visually show it. So let's look at what happened here. He followed up my subs after my initiative roll for action segment 3. He followed up with his subs, and then it's apparent that he won the next action segment initiative and activated a surface. So he back-to-backed his surface and subs together. If you look at the kill tallies here compared to the last screen we saw, I suffered a lot more. Obviously, the narwhal was sunk. I lost the Fitch, my fast frigate here. Those were already done. I lost 2 Pakistani patrol craft. So, needless to say, it was a successful round for him. But let's look at what analysis we can. 4 and 5. Soviets activate their subs in action segment 4 and then win initiative action segment 5, and so they finish with their surface units. After his surface units move, he is done for this game turn. Troubling set of actions for me is few lonely units are picked off one at a time. The narwhal is sunk, as I just said, off the coast of Pakistan. She had been damaged already. Excuse me. But his subs sunk her here, just in the North Arabian Sea by where the Krylenko sits, and then as you can see, his subs then raced towards this line of units, subs that I have. His Condor even came in to attack the Lincoln's task forces right here. This is the British Ark Royal Task Force 2, attack the Brits. So he's racing his subs north now to after he killed the narwhal, which is a bummer. The US frigate Fitch is destroyed, as I said, along with 2 Pakistani patrol craft, and finally he kills the Buyuk Hun, I should say, this ship down here that was in East Indian Ocean full tanker, he moved his subs in and sunk her. At this point, based on the victory points scored, the Soviets have a marginal victory. We know that. If you look here, he's racing in every asset he can on the Ranger. My goal is to keep the Ranger as secret as I can. Beyond, there's no fog of war in this game, except for, you know, he's seeing where my counters are moving, so he knows where to move his own. But at the same time, he's not able to attack him yet. So that's the plus there. Still, he's got these Indian boats that can interject in my path, which, you know, if they move into this hex right here, the 3668, not only are they in that hex, but they now, all the hexes around it, that they've made a large circle of space that I have to move around, and thus cause my boats to move in longer paths towards their objectives. He also has this Corge here sitting off a Great Nicobar, which is a concern. World War II diesel boat that, you know, I'm going to have to worry about whether or not they can interject in my path and find my task force, and there I am right off of Kamran and his bombers. That'll be great. Anyway, that was his turn. And then he moved his surface units, and his surface units basically are still sticking here by Ras Karma. He's not making much movement out from Ras Karma and Socotra in the Socotra zone to get those slow convoys on their way, which is fine by me. You know, the longer he keeps them sitting right there, cool. All of his task forces are kind of where they, surface-wise, are where they started. So nothing to speak of for his surface vessels that I have in my notes, but certainly his subs are making a dent in the forces here. So let's move on to the next and final map. All right, we come to the last action segment of this game turn, which will be the end of the video. We're at 32 minutes. I'm going to kind of move through this quickly. I don't want these to be too long. As you can see, air is all I have left. I do have a log file, so we'll be able to move through this. I call up the air units for this segment. Understand that the bulk of my aircraft are under command failure right now. So this is going to be a pretty short turn for me, which is, again, par for the course here so far in my game. I'm feeling like we're spinning our wheels as we try to achieve our goals here. Needless to say, I call up air first. I see some maintenance notes at the top of this log file, so we'll move past that. Enterprise launches her S3 Vikings. She's got a 4 attack rating. I'm going against his 2 diesel boats here. Or he's got a nuke boat and a diesel boat. I'm going to attack the Kotov. She's noisy, but she still has a 7 defense, which still means I need a 10% chance to hit this boat. I roll an 8, again close, but no cigar. Aircraft lands. Then the Enterprise launches her A6s on extended air. Now you're going to see her fly north and around. Understand this Adu Atoll. All this light color here is the range of his cap, so I do not want to fly through it, otherwise his cap can pounce on me and blow my A6s out of the air, and that is something I do not want to have happen. So I launch them with mid-air refueling. The US player can always launch with mid-air refueling from their carriers and from Diego. 1 aircraft limit per, but still mid-air refueling. So we get the long flight around Adu Atoll, and we come here to bomb the male atoll. Again, my goal is to nullify this base because I do not want him transiting any fighters over the Maldives here. Not that they'll have any major effect against me, but they will open a corridor for his bombers to come south, and I do not need that. It would link up this whole into India, through Sri Lanka, into the Maldives, all the way out to the Adu Atoll. You will see that the Adu Atoll has a damage marker on it, which is good. I hit the base in the morning with my subs. I forgot to mention that. the Albany had done a cruise missile strike against it. So that's cool. That base will essentially, that cap will be shut down as of the end of this turn when we get done with this action cycle, when the cap landing phase happens. Continuing on, we hit. Okay, now understand this base has a damage marker 1, which reduces the close air attack to by half, minimum of 3. So if we look at the airbase, it's got a 4. Half would be 2, but it's a minimum of 3. So he's got a 3 defense. His land defenses could potentially hit my bombers. So he rolls. I roll for him against a rating of 3. I roll a 2. That is a 0. My bombers are not affected. I roll to attack with a 90 bombing rate over an island that doesn't have any freaking defenses except, especially after the roll there. What do I roll? I roll a 0. I can't even kill a base that doesn't have, well, I still get a hit on it. Not, even at 90, a 0 is a 5 result, which is a damage on an air base. But I was hoping for 2 marks, something. I couldn't even get that. Talk about frustrating. Still, we take the hit and we go and land. My Orions fly out of Diego. Aircraft can work in tandem on ASW. Ships can work in tandem on ASW, combining their scores. Subs are the only ones that cannot work in tandem on anything. Anyway, so I have 8 value, which gives me a much better chance to hit his Kotov. I roll a 1. You will see that I get angry from the dice gods here, constantly giving 1s and 0s on my attacks and 7, 8s, and 9s on my detections. Always. The Orions land. And okay, so next we see my B-17 launches out of Diego with the goal to kill something here, and I fly it to the male atoll as well and bomb the male atoll with another 90 rating, and I roll a 9, and that is, oh, let's see here, with no viable surface targets for my B-52, it will fly to the male atoll. You have a defense rating of 3. Yeah, 3. That is a negative 3 to my attack, but no threat to my bombers. So I roll to attack. I roll 4. That's a hit on the base. So the base is now at 3. What? Something weird happened there. Again, for whatever reason, it was at 2. Bottom line, yeah, okay, that makes sense because now its close air attack value is 0. Close area. The B-52 lands. I get angry because I can't even kill a defensive space with my bombers. I'm really feeling frustrated at this point. The S3 Viking flies, attacks the Cindevere. I roll a 1. Great. She returns to the Ranger. Now here's something. This is interesting. I'm going to explain this real quick just for those that don't know. But when aircraft launch, they can do cooperative strikes with other aircraft that didn't launch with them, as long as they can pass over the airbase of the other aircraft. So when we look here, Singapore is 10 hexes, this little number here, 10 hexes off of the primary map. So when that reconnaissance aircraft hits the map, it's on movement 11. Okay, so 11, 12, 13, but then it wants to fly over Georgetown, pick up this other reconnaissance, so it's got to go 2 spaces to get there, so that's 14, 15 just to get on that spot. Then it's got to fly out to 16, 17, so by the time it hits the map again, it's at 18. But I've now made it up with another reconnaissance aircraft. They fly together, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. I'm just within the range of these, or at least one of these aircraft to fly and do this strike. The other one certainly has the range to return, but they both have a 70 range. You have to have that, obviously, for the flight out and the flight back. So anyway, I got an 8 attack value against his Cindevere. I'm going to roll. I roll a 7. I finally get a success. The Cindevere is hit. My aircraft return. They both returned to their individual bases. I could have left the Australians in Georgetown with the other reconnaissance aircraft, and that would have given me the opportunity to launch them together without this hassle of having to fly one to the other. But it would have taken my Australian P3 out of commission for the next game, 3 game turns, which is our house rule there for moving air bases. Australians, of course, can move air bases. So anyway, analysis. So what happened this game turn? Well, the Americans lost more ships. I hit 2 subs. I almost killed an air base. Needless to say, game turn 4 was not anywhere close to being an Allied victory, Allied, to speak of anything that was successful to build morale as a player even. Very frustrated. A lot of cuss words in this particular game turn. But that's it. I'm going to end the video here. I'm hoping to have another one up today. So if you enjoyed this one, certainly appreciate it and give it a thumbs up. And we'll see you soon.